Hi guys, welcome to the very first episode of making a beaded mat with machine beads. Today we are going to learn about how to make a beaded mat. Please, if you are new here, kindly subscribe to my YouTube channel and don't forget to turn on the notification button to get notified each time I post. Okay, so now let's start. So to begin, you are going to take your fishing line and cut about 70 centimeters. Yes, 70 centimeters. Then after cutting the 70 centimeters, you actually have to cut the one that you can handle. That's why I advise you cut 70 centimeters to start with. Then you bring the two ends in close up position like this, just as I have done in the video. So the beads that we are going to use is the 6mm bead. That's the back bead, 6mm. So to start, you take 4 beads and pass it through one fishing line. It can actually be any of them. So one fishing line, you first pass the first 3 beads into one fishing line. Yes, so the first 3 beads, that is into one fishing line. 1 2 3. Yes, that's what we have here. So the very 4th bead, after passing it through the same fishing line, you lock it with the other fishing line. Yes, that is, you lock it with the other fishing line. So it just goes into the opposite direction just as you are passing through it. Then you pull the beads down to the bottom, making you have something like this. Yes, so this is what you're going to get at the end when you do what I said. 1 2 3 4. Yes, that is it. So this is what you're supposed to get. That is, you take 3 beads, you pass it through one fishing line. The next bead, you pass it through the very same fishing line. Then you lock it with the other fishing line, just as you are passing through with at the opposite direction. So this is what you will get. Don't worry, if you didn't get it the first time, you will get it in the subsequent videos. Yes, so next we are going to take 3 beads. 3 beads. You see that this very fishing line has 2 ends. You're handling one with your left hand and the other one with your right hand. So the one which you are having with you handle with your left hand, you pass 2 beads into it. That is for the next step. 2 beads. Yes, 1 2. And with the 3rd bead, that is what you cross your right-handed fishing line with. So after that, you make sure your ends are very close or equal. Then you pull it down to the base, forming something like this. This is what you are supposed to get. If you didn't get it, don't worry. As we progress, you will surely get it. Yes, so this is what you are going to get. Yes, so moving on, because you have something like this, you are going to make a 10. You are making it in a spiral form. So you are going to make a 10, and with a 10 you are going to turn on our left hand, and because you are going to turn on our left hand, you pass 2 beads in our handed fishing line, 2 beads, and with the 3rd bead that you pass through, that is what you are going to use your right-handed fishing line to lock it, just as I just did. And as I said, you always make sure that the tip of your beads are very equal. Yes, so if you check and they are very equal in the first and second first and second step, you can then progress and not check again. So this is what you are also supposed to get in the 3rd step. Yes, so the 3rd step, that is, we've successfully made our 10. Yes, so in the very next one, you are going to use the right-handed fishing line to pass through the very bead that you see here, the one which I'm passing through. Yes, you are going to get the same thing. So that very bead, you're going to use your right-handed fishing line to pass through it. Then you pull it. You have to pull it all the way down the fishing line, the right-handed fishing line. And after that, with your left-handed fishing line, you are going to pass 2 beads in it. 2 beads in it, your left-handed fishing line. So this is the very first one. then the second one. So it is the second one that we are going to use our right-handed fishing line to lock it. Yes, it goes to the opposite direction. This is when I was just making sure that my lines were equal at the tip. So after that, you pull it. You always have to stretch it in order for your bag to look firm. So what I would advise is that as you start your bag, everything that you are doing, that is what you are going to get at the end. So for starters, I would advise that you always stretch it. Even in the very first one, you have to stretch it for it to look firm, so that you will be sure that in the next ones that you do or the next steps that you take, your bag will look firm. So we are going to make a turn again. We are still turning from our left to the right side. So this time again, we will equally pass 2 beads in our left hand dead fishing line, and with the very third bead, we will lock with our right-handed fishing line. Yes, we will pass it through it in the opposite direction, then we pull it down. So yes, this is a successful turn. Yes, so you're supposed to get something like this after making this turn. This is what you're supposed to get. So having done this, we are now moving to the next step, which is we are passing our right-handed fishing line to the very bead that I'm going to use here. Kindly watch. I'm going to bring it close for you to see it very well. So you pass your right-handed fishing line to this very bead, the one next to the where the fishing line passes through. So this very bead, that is where you are going to pass your fishing line through it. Yes, so you pull it all the way down. Other people have ways of making it, but since I'm the one teaching you, I would advise you use this method so that you don't miss your way out. Okay, so having done that, you are going to pass 1 bead into your right-handed fishing line. This time you're going to use a right-handed fishing line. So you pass 1 bead into it, then the next bead goes the same way, then you lock it with your left-handed fishing line, then you pull it all the way down. So we are going to build on this 2-step beading. Yes, so everyone has a way of making it, but as I said again, I am the one teaching you, so I would advise you use this method so that you don't miss your way out. So now right here, this is what you're supposed to get at the end of that. You can now turn or like switch your hand. Yes, with the hand with which you were holding the right fishing line, you turn it to the left, and the left one goes the same way to the right. So now we are going to turn again with our left hand, and you have to make sure you do this after switching the hand with which you are holding the fishing line. Yes, so after switching that hand, you are now going to pass your 2 beads into your left-handed fishing line. 1, 2. You pass your 2 bead into that line, and with the third bead, after passing it through that, you will lock it with your right-handed fishing line. Yes, so then you pull it all the way down to make the turn. Yes, so having done that, this is what you are supposed to get. If you didn't get this, I would advise you take it down, then you can start that very same process again. Yes, so this is what you're supposed to get. And now I am going to pass my right-handed fishing line into the very next bead I showed you that you pass your line into. So that step just continues like that. So you pass your right-handed fishing line into that bead, then you pull it. Then you pull it. So after that, now we are going to have our 2 beads. We are going to insert it into our left-handed fishing line. So 1 bead there. Next, we are going to add our next bead on top. And yes, one more thing that I wanted to show you. I did something here, but I believe most of you didn't see. So now, after making that turn that we just did, you have to switch the fishing line. You have to switch the fishing line to get the effect that I'm going to teach you, or if you maintain that same fishing line, you are going to get it wrong. So after making that very one, you just switch your hand with which you are holding the fishing line. So after switching, we believe that now the left-handed fishing line is in our right and our right-handed fishing line is in our left. So we pass our 2 bead into our left-handed fishing line now, then we lock it with our right-handed fishing line. You lock the last bead with our right-handed fishing line. Then this is what you are supposed to get after making that very back. Yes, this is what you are supposed to get. So next, with the same left-handed fishing line, you pass 3 bead into that line. 3 bead, just as I have in my hand. 1, 2, 3. Yes, and you lock it with our right-handed fishing line. It is just a simple process. If you are a beginner, no need to be worried. You will surely get it. So after doing that, you pull it down, and yes, that is us making our turn. So you can see return from our left to the right side now. So after making that, you always make sure that you pass your right-handed fishing line into the very next bead that I said you will always get here. So I'm going to draw it closer. This very next bead, that is where you are supposed to pass your right-handed fishing line into. Yes, so your right-handed fishing line going all the way in the very next bead close to the fishing line here. Having done that, I always advise right after this step you switch your hand in order not to confuse yourself. Going on or moving on, I would also teach you how to continue with that very same hand, but because it's a bit tricky, I advise you switch hands. So after switching hands, your left-handed fishing line, you pass 2 bead into it, you join, you lock it with your very last bead, that is using the right-handed fishing line, just as we did in the subsequent steps. So after that, this is what you get, and we are going to repeat the same step that we did coming up. So now we have 5 beads here. Yes, so 5 beads. We are supposed to make 10. Yes, so let's work on it, progress, and make about 10 steps. So now we are going to pass another 2 beads in our left-handed fishing line, then you lock it with the last bead. The third bead is rather supposed to be 3, so 2, the third one, then you lock your right-handed fishing line bead with it. So now we are going to pass our right-handed fishing line into this very bead as I showed you previously. So you pass your right-handed fishing line into it, then you pull it. So now time to switch. You switch hands, you take 2 beads, insert it into your left-handed fishing line, then the 2, so you lock the last one with the opposite fishing line. This is what you're supposed to get. Now we are going to make our turn from the left to the right, so it is just a repeated step of what we did previously. So 3, then you lock it with the last bead, that is your right-handed fishing line going into the last bead at the opposite direction, then you pull it down to make your turn. Yes, so this step we pass our right-handed fishing line into that very next bead. Yes, then you pull out this rope. Now you switch hands. After switching hands, you take 2 beads, you pass it through the left-handed fishing line, you cross it with the right one, then you pull it down. So these steps are going to be repeated for you to get to the 10th one. So we just repeat it again. 2 beads. The very last one going down there is where you're going to pass our right-handed fishing line into. Then we pull, making our 10. Yes. Then with the right-handed fishing line, we will pass it into our next bead as I showed you before. Please make sure that your line doesn't entangle. You're going to repeat those same steps again. 3 beads going into a left-handed fishing line. Whilst we lock with our right-handed fishing line. Then you pull it all the way down. Then we pass our right-handed fishing line into our very bead here. Then we switch hands. After that, we take 2 beads, we pass it through the left-handed fishing line, then we cross with the right-handed fishing line. One thing I told you is that you have to always stretch it to make it firm. Now we are counting. Yes, so you have 9 now. It's left with 1 to make it 10. So let's continue to make progress. You make use of our very next bead here in our right hand. You pass it through, you pull it all the way down. Then you switch it again. You pick 2 beads. One goes into the left hand fishing line, the next goes the same way. Then you cross it to your right handed fishing line. Then you pull it all the way down. Yes. So now I said 10, but let's make extra 5 just to make sure that you are okay with this very step that we learned. Let's make extra 5. We were supposed to tend to make this side enlarge, so you can see that at one side we have 10 steps there, at the other end we have only 2. Those 2 are what we are working on. So but now let's make extra 5 before we make our last 10 towards the other side. So we are going to make a 10 just as we did previously. So with our left-handed fishing line, we are going to make a 10 again. Yes. So let me quickly do it. As you equally do it at your end, we are making extra 4. We are building extra 4 on top. Kindly subscribe to the YouTube channel if you are new here. Turn on the notification button to get notified on each video that I upload, and please share and like the video for me so that your friends can equally get access to this very video. You can also put in the comment section what you think. If you have any questions, you can equally ask and I will surely address it. So this is me making my extra 4 now, counting. I have my 14. on the 15th one, that is what you are going to turn on to the other side. So we use our 3, 2, then the very third one. We now lock it with our right-handed fishing line as we did previously. So now let me bring it close. We make use of that very bead. You draw it all the way down, you pull it. Now you don't switch hands. With this very step, you don't switch hands. You just make sure that you continue. That is when you are going to make a full turn towards the other end. Yes, so now you're making a full turn to build upon the 2 steps that you've already made. So you put 2 into the left-handed fishing line, then with the very second bead you pass through our last bead with our right-handed fishing line. So at the end of that, this is what you're supposed to get. This is what you're supposed to get, a very perfect beaded mat. So now we are going to turn from our left hand to the right hand, left to right, just as I'm showing you here. So then we progress and build upon that one too. Then we go that way. So now we are going to make our very third one. So we are going to progress towards this side. So over here we have our thing. Okay, so 15. We now have our 15 steps complete. So we are going to build upon it to make the third step over here. Yes, so to do that, you take 3 beads. Every time that you're making a thing, you take 3 beads. So we take 3 beads, you pass it through the left-handed fishing line. If you followed in the previous ones, I believe you won't be lost at this section. So pass it through our left-handed fishing line, then with the last one we will lock it. Now after we've locked it, we are now going to build upon it. So if you were supposed to come from the right side, you would have done the same that way, but now because you are moving from our left to the right side, we will lock it that way. And right after locking it, you make sure you pass your right-handed fishing line into the very bead here. Yes, then you pull it all the way up. That very bead, yes, that's what you used. You have to be careful with which bead to use. Other than that, you make a mistake. So now we take 2 beads, we pass it through the left-handed fishing line, then only 2, just 2 bead. Then with our other handed fishing line, we pass it through, we lock it with it, then we pull it all the way down. Make sure you stretch it, and this is what you're supposed to get. So if you didn't get that, kindly redo it again. So you pass it through the very next bead again, then you lock it. You pass 2 to the left-handed fishing line, you lock it to the second one rather, sorry, then you pull it. So let me bring it close. We always, after doing that, you always pass it through the next bead in this process. Now on the stage that we are, that is what we will do. After passing your 2 bead in and locking it, you always have to make use of that bead. Always, you have to pass your right-handed fishing line into it. Now you repeat the same step over and over again until we get to the last but one part. Yes, so we are going to make use of our bead there. After passing our right-handed fishing line in through it, we take 2 beads, pass it through the left one, 2, then we lock it to the last one, then we pull it all the way down. Then now our right-handed line, we pass it through that very bead, and the reason why we do that is to lock it, because you are building upon the previous ones. You have to always make sure that you are equally using that, you are equally attaching it to that very one. Other than that, you would make a different thing instead of a mat. So you continue the same step over and over again till you get to the last but one. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, kindly subscribe to the channel, turn on notification to get notified on each post that I update or I upload. And don't forget to share, like and comment if there is anything that I don't understand, so that I can address it in the next video. So it's the very same step that we are repeating. You take 2 beads, you pass it through the left-handed fishing line, and you can see that with this stage you are not switching hands. I think this is the easiest stage in beading, the progressing, as in you are building upon the previous ones that you've done, and that is pretty much easier. So you just build upon it till you get to your very last but one bead. Don't forget that you always have to stretch it to make your bead firm. If you don't stretch it very well, your bag will be crumpled. So now we have our 14 here, with the very last one making our 15. What you do is that you pass it through the very last bead here. Yes, that very last bead. Then after that, at this stage, you have to switch hands. Because you are going to turn and build upon it again from our left hand side back to our right hand side. So over here we use only 2 beads. So one goes into our now left hand fishing line, then the next goes that same way. Then with the very second one, we pass our right handed fishing line through it, then we pull it, sealing that point. So now we have our third step there. You can see that we've built 3 over there. So we are now going to turn again towards the right side, and as I said before, with the turning you always pick 3 beads. So 1, 2, 3, and with the very third bead we'll pass our right handed fishing line through it, pull it all the way down, make sure that it's firm. So yes, this is what you're supposed to get, and we repeat the same process again as we did the very first time. So now again, 1, 2, that is the next step. After turning, you make only 2 beads, then you pass your other fishing line through it to secure. Right after doing these 2, you also have to go back to that very bead again. You pass it through with your right handed fishing line, then with your left 1, 2, you pass 2 beads through it, then you lock it again. So you have to repeat this very same step to the down, to the button. Repeat that very same step to the button, and when you're done, you just make your turn. So this is very simple. I believe everyone can do it. If there is any question, you can ask in the comment section and I will surely address it. Yes, so you can repeat the same step till you get to the button and turn back again till your mat becomes big. I'll be showing you in the next video how to tack it when your fishing line gets finished or you get to the far end of your fishing line. So this is where we bring the very first episode to an end. Join me same time next week. I will be uploading the next video on how to tack it in and also how to build upon it to form a bigger mat. Thanks so much for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel and turn on the notification button for next videos.